Hi, Black women. Hello, friends. Listen, we want to have an honest sit-down conversation with you. I brought in Dr. Kimani, who is a licensed therapist, and we're going to have a conversation about what's going on at your job because it's not normal, it's not healthy, and it's not something that you need to stick around for. So let's talk about that toxic job. Maybe for the first time, you'll come to recognize what a toxic job looks like. But stick around with us on this video. Stick around to the end because we're going to point you to some resources that are going to help you be able to see things a little more clearly and see a course of action that maybe you haven't seen before. Maybe you'll be able to see a way out that you have not yet seen for yourself. Welcome. My name is Stephanie Perry. I'm a house sitter, the creator of House Sitter School and the co-creator of Exodus Summit. And I help Black women take sabbaticals and career breaks, and I help Black women bop around the world and move abroad. If you're interested, subscribe to this channel, please, and turn on the notification bell, ring the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post a new video with my wonderful special guests. Hello, wonderful special guest. Friend, please meet Dr. Kimani.
Hello, wonderful Stephanie. Hello, everyone.
I'm so glad to have you here. Please introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kimani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor, but I love to say I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm also the co-host with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, in which we help usher over 300 Black women to liberation, finding ways to replace their income, what to do about their health insurance and their retirement. And I really want Black women to know that we have options and we don't have to stay at toxic jobs that are harming us.
That's right. Thank you. So Dr. Kimani has been a frequent guest on my YouTube channel, and it's all because I have an agenda. I think that Black women, especially Black women in the United States, we're not yet aware of how wrong things are for us at work. And we're also not yet aware of how possible it is to leave that situation and to find something better for yourself. Mm-hmm. So let's talk first, Kimani, about how wrong things are for Black women at work.
They are so wrong.
Yeah, what does it look like for us? And how does it look? And how is that different from the way it looks for other people, especially in the U.S.?
Okay, so I'm going to speak from the perspective of my own experience as a toxic job survivor, but also as a therapist and a coach, and what I've heard from family and friends and the media. A whole bunch of people have said this. So when we think about for Black women, we have often been programmed growing up. We have to work twice as hard to get half as much. So we kind of come into the workplace. We are over-prepared. We're overqualified. And we get these jobs and we start getting treated some kind of way like people are questioning our competence, or people are undermining us, micromanaging us, gossiping about us. And we come to believe that that's just the way jobs are. And so if you talk to your friends, family, they may say, girl, all jobs are toxic. You know, all jobs are like that. But you got a good job. I mean, you make good salary, you got good benefits. You better just stay at that job. And so then we start believing that there's nothing else for us and we have to keep working harder. So then we fall into this trap of burnout where we work harder and harder and harder. We get sicker and sicker and sicker, and nobody really benefits except for the employer. Also, to understand that we sometimes work so hard at these jobs that our identity becomes fused into the job. So now our job title and who we are becomes one, and then the job becomes all consuming. And so you really don't see your life outside of your job. And again, you're getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And I just want to quote you, Stephanie, where you'd say that, you know, a job is a means to an end. It's a way for us to make money. But if a job is harming you, it's not a good job. If you're accessing your healthcare benefits, those good healthcare benefits, because a job is making you sick, it's not a good job. And so the research is clear. It's not just what I'm saying or what I've heard. The research is actually saying that Black women have higher rates of experiencing workplace bullying. You can check out Dr. Leah Hollis. She's been a guest on my channel, which is Lifting as We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. But the research is clear. We have higher rates of workplace bullying and negative work experiences because of issues of racism and sexism. And so for other groups, they may have difficult experiences, but it may be isolated in terms of that particular job. So they may say, oh, that job was messed up. They go somewhere else. It might be better. But for us, many times we have multiple trauma or toxic jobs because racism and sexism is everywhere. So as Black women, we've come to believe I better stay with the devil I know than the devil I don't know, because all jobs are this way.
So what does workplace bullying look like? How do we know that that's what's happening?
Workplace bullying, it looks different again, but the main thing is when somebody is intentionally engaging in behavior, and you know it's intentional by what they're doing, they may be sabotaging you, they may be screaming at you, talking behind your back. You may not have opportunities like other people are getting. You may be left out of meetings where important information is available to other people, but you're left out. And so it's this consistent behavior that somebody is doing in the workplace, somebody or a group of people. So there's workplace mobbing too. So it happens consistently, and people are around, they can see it, but nobody's really coming to your defense. And so you feel very helpless and hopeless in that situation.
When nobody comes to your defense, sometimes what happens is you start to think, well, it's me, right?
Right.
It's not
The
a them problem.
self-gaslighting.
Yeah, it must be a
Yep.
me
You start
problem because
self-gaslighting you.
nobody else seems to have heard what I heard. So maybe I'm
Right.
overreacting, or maybe I'm misinterpreting things.
Or maybe I'm not playing the game. Maybe I'm not playing the game like people say I need to, because other people might observe it and they may actually be experiencing some of what you're experiencing, or they're witnessing, but they're too scared to say anything because they see what's happening to you. And they know that when they're in these toxic jobs, it's a toxic system. So some kind of way it might come back to them, and they're terrified. So they may support you in silence, but when you need that support, they're not really there for you. And they may even just ghost you completely. So they're not there for you at all, even in silence. They just ignore you.
When if we're experiencing this kind of action or activity at our jobs, right? You mentioned that we often don't take any action to remove ourselves because everyone says, well, that's just how jobs are, especially if you're in community with Black women who are in large numbers the victims of this kind of actions, right? Then everybody's talking about this is how it is at her job and her job and their job. And so you do feel like there's nothing to be done. At least I should stay here and do this good work, because what is the point of leaving? So what is the point of leaving?
Well, I want to say a few things before we shift to that part. So one is, sometimes as Black women, we believe that that job is the only place where we can do that work.
Yeah.
So you feel that, oh no, if I leave this job, then I can't be an accountant anymore. I can't be an attorney anymore, whatever that might be. And that's not true. So that's a lie we tell ourselves. The other thing is, what happens many times is that we start trauma bonding with other Black women, and we start talking about our war stories at our job. And that's how our relationships are, that we're just constantly talking about our job. But then you think about, in your personal life, you're talking about the job constantly and not feeling that when you're in these situations, sometimes it can erode at your sense of confidence. And you might start questioning yourself, do I really have the abilities? Would I be able to find another job? Am I not, what I thought I was? So that's the self-gaslighting. And that's when it's so dangerous. But it's important for us as Black women to know we have options, because these jobs are really harming us significantly, physically and or psychologically. And I know because I experienced it, but can be some very serious mental and physical outcomes because of these issues. And it can range on a continuum from depression, anxiety, dread, crying on your way to work, crying, leaving work, in the bathroom, crying, to the point where some Black women even experience suicidal thoughts. And we've actually seen with Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey, where she actually took her life because of issues related to the job. And so we have to take it very seriously. And it's not something that we should come accustomed to. Yeah, that's our reality. And we start thinking this too. Well, if each job I go to is toxic, then I must be the problem. But no, you're not the problem. You're not the problem. Yes, self-assess, yes. But more than likely you'll see it's not you, it is the toxic systems that we're in.
So then why leave? If
Why
it's a
leave?
toxic system, why do
Yes.
we look to improve the situation?
Right. So we might try like band-aid approaches. Like, I'm going to try to have a meeting with this person, or I'm trying to clear my name, or I'm not going to let them run me out of here. I'm just going to fight. Right. And so we dig our heels in because we think that there's no other way out. But the reason that we need to get out is because we are being harmed. There are very serious things that are happening. As our blood pressure's going up, we're gaining weight. We might be losing weight because we can't keep our appetite, get headaches, skin messed up, your hair falling out, and you just become a shell of a person. So that's the why. The why is we need to save ourselves and to know that there are other options for us, that we are able to use our skills and talents somewhere else. And it's important for us to identify what these red flags are at these jobs. So when we see them, we'll be able to pivot out faster and to know that the resources are available for us, even though it feels like I can't leave, or I've never seen anybody around me leave, or everybody around me is telling me to stay at this job. You have to make a decision that's best for you because you're the only one living your life. So people might be telling you these things, but you know how you feel every day when that alarm goes up. You said it before, like your alarm will go off and you'd be like, oh God, like I would dread waking up. So if you don't want to live a life like this and you are interested in looking at how can I plan to get out and do well so I can still make money, what do I need to do for that to happen? So how do we plan and prepare and get the healing that we need? Because the healing doesn't happen until really after you leave. That's when the healing starts.
That's right. You cannot heal in the same environment where you were harmed, right? You can't
Just beating
stay
you down every day.
You cannot stay in a toxic place and expect to be better, to do better, to get better. You have to remove yourself. If your job were a relationship, right? If your job were a relationship or a marriage, you would have been gone and you would have told your girlfriend to get out too, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you're in a workplace situation where you're like, well, I'm going to hang in there until retirement. I'm going to hang in there until whatever the next
my
bonus,
kid graduates or the next bonus. Yes.
Right? Then you're giving yourself, you're telling yourself that thing is worth more than you are, right? That bonus check, that whatever that thing is that you're hanging in for, you're telling yourself that is more valuable than you are as a person. Sometimes you're telling yourself that the title, right, the prestige is more valuable than you are.
Yeah. As you said, Stephanie, it's fruit of the slavery tree, that we come to identify ourselves in terms of our work. That's not who we are. That's what we do to make money, but that's not who we are. And so being able to really be clear about this is who I am, and I need to be in environments where I don't feel psychologically harmed. I don't feel like I'm watching my back all the time, that you are really able to leave. Seriously, you are able to leave that job and get something else. It could be another job. It can be a side hustle. It could be your own business, but we have options. And so that's why I just want Black women to know we have options.
Yeah. So you lay out some of these options for women on your channel and in your summit. So can you tell us about the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, and can you tell us what you have coming up?
Yes. So the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, this was the first annual one, which was in May with Marissa Price. And Stephanie was one of our fantastic speakers. So we had Black women speakers who are all toxic job survivors who've all pivoted and are doing well in their lives. So talking to Black women, real talk about how to reclaim yourself from a toxic job, meaning how to really establish what is it that I want for myself and how do I go in that direction, and how to replace your income. What are the different ways you have to replace that income? What to do about your retirement? your life insurance, your health benefits, if you want to take legal action. We covered all of those things. So if you want to get the replay, that is available to you. And then we're actually starting to plan for 2025, which
Good.
will be this May. And so there's a waiting list for that as well. So that is the virtual summit. And now we are hosting the masterclass, How to Heal After Leaving a Toxic Job Masterclass. We just finished last week, How to Prepare to Leave a Toxic Job. So that's available on replay too, but really talking to Black women about what our options are and how to create that exit plan. You may be watching this video right now, like, I cannot stand that job. I hate it. I dread it, but you don't know how. You don't know how to get out. And so we're sharing that information with you in that other masterclass. And then this masterclass, which is coming up this Sunday, October 27th, from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern, talks about what is the healing journey, and we will walk you through the healing journey. What are the things to do to get your confidence back? Or how do you even identify if the job is toxic? People ask me all the time, what is a toxic job? And I'm saying, well, it's different for each person, but we're going to talk about the different signs you're in a toxic job, how can we gain that confidence back, how to decide on what direction you really want to go in your career, and how to move in that direction. So it's Marissa and I, as well as Angela Kanu and oh my God, I just forgot it. Alicia Gill. So we're all sharing information about how to make that pivot and how to do well. And I also wanted to say, with anything that I offer, that there's a privacy consideration, that no one will be on camera except for the speakers, and no one's names will be listed, because I know as Black women, we don't want people in our business, and we don't want people knowing we're trying to leave that good job. So don't let that keep you from registering.
Yes, thank you. Of course, friends, I will link to the workshops, the workshop that has already passed and the workshop that is happening this weekend. I'm going to link to them in the description of this video. These two together are really good, like 1-2 combination to help you make a move, to help you make a change. How to prepare and how to heal from, how to prepare to leave a toxic job and how to heal from a toxic job, because the leaving is important, but the healing, we need them both. They don't automatically.
It's essential. It's essential. You know why? Because I think when we leave a toxic job, we're so relieved that we're out, and then we don't understand, well, why do I feel these other things? Like I feel conflicted. I feel sad. I feel angry about what happened to me. And so you're just sitting with that. And the problem with that is that if you don't process that and heal from it, you may end up in another toxic job.
Yes.
And so it's important to really go through that healing process so that you have the clarity about what is it that I'm looking for? What are the things that I will not tolerate? And how do I get to those next steps? And how do I move on from my life? Because I've had Black women, Stephanie, and they've left a toxic job about 2 to 3 years ago. They're still stuck. They're still stuck in that angry phase or that hurt phase of what happened at the previous toxic job. They haven't moved on. And so to be able to fully move on and release that, you need to go through a healing process, which may include a grief process, which we're going to talk about during the masterclass as well.
Good. Yeah. If part of what a toxic job does to you is it shatters your self-confidence, then it's really, really hard to leave that situation and put yourself in a good position in whether it's in another job or retirement or starting your own thing, right? It's really hard to put yourself in a good position when your confidence is shattered, when your idea of who you are and what you're worth is in the pits, right? Imagine starting a business and really believing, because you were in a toxic job, believing that you're not worth anything. You're not going to make any money in that business. And then
you're not
going to feed into the idea that it was a you problem. And so healing from this toxic environment is critical, is crucial. So I'm glad that you and Marissa, who are both therapists, I'm glad that you together have created something that makes this a priority. Instead of just saying leave, it's the two We have to leave and we have to heal. We don't want to keep repeating this over and over and over again. We don't want to keep putting ourselves in situations to be abused over and over again at work.
Yes, yes. And I wanted to mention also that the masterclass is really going to tap into how to identify if you have some unresolved childhood wounds that were triggered in that work environment. Because if you have unresolved childhood wounds, that keeps you in that job environment longer, because on some level you feel like you deserve that negative treatment or that you can't get any better. And so that might indicate, you know what, maybe I need to also go into therapy, because I didn't realize that because of my unresolved childhood wounds, I'm still at this toxic job, or I find it hard to believe I can leave. So that's one thing. The other thing is that in the masterclass, we're going to talk about how do you cope as you're going through this process? Because the process is not easy. It's very painful at times. And what types of coping strategies or mechanisms can you utilize as you're going through the process of leaving and even after you've left? Because I'd say that I resigned over 2.5 years ago, but I'm still healing. I'm still healing because I'm practicing now self-forgiveness. I forgive myself for those people, allowing those people to talk to me that way or treat me that way. I forgive myself because I did the best I could do in that situation. And we have to connect to that. Who was you back then when you were going through that, and have that compassion for yourself and know that that was in the past, but that doesn't define how you're moving forward currently or in the future.
That's so important. I saw your recent video about when your mother is your first bully.
Yes.
There are so much of us is so interconnected. We like to segment parts of our lives, but we're one person. We're one person. And it's all in there. It's all in there. So, so I do appreciate the 360-degree approach that you take to helping Black women through this situation, instead of just being like, well, let's just make more money, right? Let's just get a job that makes more money. It doesn't matter how bad the job is, or
just quit, girl. You're gonna be okay. Just quit, and just pray and everything's gonna be okay. No,
and that will appear.
Right. It's like, what are the real talk steps that you need to take? And this is from Black women. We've all gone through it. We've all experienced it, and we're all doing well. And so you'll be able to hear what we're saying, but also we're showing you that we have left and we're doing well, so you can see it.
Can you tell us right now, what are some of the ways that Black women have been able to leave a toxic job? Is it just, hopefully you get some lottery winnings and that's how you can leave?
I haven't met that woman yet. Okay. I haven't met that woman yet. But a lot of Black women have, really thought about the skills that they currently have at that job, or what were the skills they had before they even came to the job? And they think about who are the connections that they have that they can reach out to, and they start making those connections and they can pivot to better jobs. And I know a lot on my channel talk about toxic jobs, but there's a lot of Black women who pivot to really good jobs. Okay. Not all jobs are toxic, and, or they may create their own business. So I've experienced it for myself, but other Black women are able to successfully pivot. And I want to highlight this. Not one Black woman that I've ever interviewed, that I ever met, who's left a toxic job has ever said, I regret leaving that job. Not one. And these are Black women who've had the gamut of jobs. So it could be a range of different, but not one has ever said, you know what? I wish I could have stayed there. No.
Yeah. No. That's wonderful. That's good to hear. Like, it's really, it helps someone who's watching right now say, okay, it's going to be worth it, right? It's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out. So once you've spent so much of your time and energy trying to get a certain job and get a certain position at a job, get a certain role, achieve a certain level, it can feel in the beginning disheartening or discouraging to then decide that you're going to walk away from that. But it's really nice to remember that you're not you're not throwing everything in the trash. You're not going to go start again at zero.
Exactly. So more than likely, you're going to go to a higher position from there. So you're able to take that experience and that job title and pivot to something better. You're right. You're not going to go back to bankrupt, start at zero, because you're not going to do that. But I think that's part of the fear. That's the fear talking. And we understand the fear is real. The fear is so real. And so I don't want to discount that. I want to really say that it's a normal part of the process. And that is why I'm providing so many resources, because when I was out here going through this, I didn't have any resources.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I've gone through it. I want to help other Black women, provide them with the resources, and just tell them the fear is going to be there. Don't think the fear is not going to be there. It's going to be there, but don't let that stop you. And I remember Glenn Mazzini said, the fear is not a stop sign. It is a gate. We walk through it. And so I want to walk with Black women through the gate of fear as you transition to the other side, which is so much better.
Yes, so much better. So my toxic job situation was the actual toxic job situation was years ago. My last real job was it didn't serve me. But years ago, the toxic job that I was in, I had an employer who basically, she just harassed me after I came back from FMLA until I quit. Right. I came back from FMLA and she just was the worst person until I walked away. Now I was in my early 20s. I was the first person I ever knew who took FMLA. This was right after Bill Clinton signed it into effect, I think. Right. But what I remember from that time is thinking this type of, I don't want to have another person have this much say in my life. Right?
Yes.
Say in what happens in my life. Because at that point, I lost my job, I would have felt really scared. Now, I would have gotten another job because I did, right? But I would have felt really scared. So that kind of helped in future me think about other ways to make money that aren't related to having a traditional job. Yes. So some of the women in your space leave traditional jobs altogether and go into something like consulting or freelancing or starting their own business in some way. But quite a few of the women in your space who you coach and who come through your workshops and your summit do find traditional jobs
better jobs. They're not toxic and they make more money. So it is to their benefit to do that. And, it's so interesting when you said that, Stephanie, because I thought the same thing when I was at the toxic job. And when I pivoted out, I said, I never want someone who I don't respect and doesn't respect me to have that much control over my career and my life, because it became like my life was not good anymore because I was in this toxic job, and it just spilled over to all the areas of my life. So I decided I will never have that happen. And something else I learned from you is the importance of having multiple streams of income. So that's something that we talk about in the summit, is the importance for us as Black women to have multiple streams of income and not to be dependent just on that job. Because if something happens to the job, now you're terrified. Oh my God, what am I going to pay my bills? But when you have multiple streams of income, then you feel a greater sense of confidence. Like, okay, it'll be okay. So we talk about that during that virtual summit.
Sitting down and looking at your actual skill set, right? The things you actually can do and the connections or the network that you have is so freeing. That's liberating, right?
It is.
Because then you no longer feel tied. You no longer feel bound to any particular job, any employer, any person. So that's
not enslaved anymore to the plantation. Yeah.
That's right. So that's another wonderful thing that your work does. It helps us to sit down and be like, oh, well, even though I think I'm this job, I'm more than that. And I have way more than that. And I do have listen, this is not the only job that's going to pay me to do this thing. If they paid me to do this thing, somebody else will pay me to do something similar. I like that you mentioned that a lot of women go on to a higher position. Because once you start to see your worth, you're like, oh, I should actually be up here.
Yeah. And it's amazing too, which I experienced. I never could have foreseen this, but when you leave, it's amazing how many opportunities come your way. Okay. I cannot believe how many opportunities have come my way that I never could have imagined. But they've become lucrative sources of income, multiple streams of income. And so again, it's having the confidence of saying, okay, I need to get out of here. What is the lowest hanging fruit that I can pivot to? What skills do I have that I can pivot to? For me, I'm a therapist. I'm like, oh, I can do therapy on my own through telehealth. And so that started it. But as I started doing that, then other opportunities started coming open, available to me, because now I'm available to receive these gifts. But when I was at the job, I didn't have time for that.
Right. If all of your energy is going into keeping your head above water, you
Oof.
don't get to really swim, right? All you doing is just
No.
trying to keep afloat.
Right, right, right. Yes.
So we've mentioned the two workshops, how to prepare to leave a toxic job and how to heal from a toxic job. Just because
Mhm.
how to prepare to leave a toxic job has already happened doesn't mean you don't
Mhm.
still participate. Okay, I'm going to
Right.
link in the description of this video. But the How to Heal from a Toxic Job workshop is very soon. If you're in
Mhm.
notification gang, hey gang, you just have enough time to sign up. Okay, go to vicarious.com/healing so that you can sign up for the How to Heal from a Toxic Job workshop. If you're watching this well after the session this weekend, if you're
Mhm.
watching well after that because of replays, hello replay gang, still go to the link and get the replays. This isn't something that you just say, oh, well, I'm going to put it on the shelf. What
Mhm.
happens to us when we say, this is a need I need to address, but I'll just do it later? What does that do to us?
Well, then what keeps us in a hole longer. And so it really contributes to that sense of helpless and hopelessness even longer. So the longer you wait to approach that thing that you're fearing, so you want to leave, but the longer you take, the more anxiety you experience, because now you have a longer time to ruminate over what could, or I don't know, and all that. But if you approach the situation and say, you know what, I am anxious about it, but I'm going to plan. I'm going to plan and get my exit plan together, then the anxiety is less. But when the longer you wait, the more overwhelming. Then you become kind of like that anxiety kind of has a chokehold over you. You
Yeah.
feel immobilized, like, oh my God, I can't, or you start beating yourself up. I said I was going to leave this job 10 years ago, and I'm still in the same place. It doesn't matter if you wanted to do that 10 years ago. Today's a new day. You can pivot. And for those of you who have a pension or retirement, you might think, oh my God, I'm going to lose my retirement. There are options for you. I'll be able to do some of my retirement. Okay. Can't touch it now, but soon I'll be able to touch it. So
Okay.
there are options for us. And so we think that, oh my God, I'm a leadership and all my pensions going to go out the window. Not necessarily. Okay. So there are different people, Black women who are at the summit, speakers who can talk you through that. So don't feel like, oh my God, automatically I have to stay because of this pension. Check it out. Is that true? Is that true? Or is that an assumption that you have?
That's just a fear. Yeah, this is why we get support, because somebody
Mm-hmm.
knows something we don't know, right?
Yes.
So this
Yes.
is why we don't just rely on just only rely on ourselves. We get
True.
support
True.
so that we
True.
can get the best outcome in the shortest amount of time. That's what
Yes.
coaching and community will do for you. Get you the best outcome in the shortest amount of time, as
Yes.
opposed to you having to figure things out when you're already stressed out and you're already exhausted, you're already burnt out, right? Trying to
Yeah. You know,
trying to make
energy.
you don't have it. You don't have it, friend. You don't have it right now. Go to the women
Uh-uh.
who do.
Yes, yes, you barely making it. Just think about, I think about when I was at the Tox job, I would be so exhausted by the end of the workday because I had to like pep myself up before I walked in the door, right? Then I had to wear the mask all day. Then when I left, I had to like get all that toxicity out of my, and I'm looking at my back all the time I'm at the job. I'm exhausted. I'm drained, drained by the time I finish my job. And I think a lot of Black women have the same experience. And think about our weekends. Oh, and that Sunday Scaries comes around. You're like, oh no, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. So that's why I do Sunday lives, because that was a time that used to be the worst day of the week for me. But now I'm fired up. Like that's a time of my life where I feel excited to be able to share with Black women about these are your options of how to get out. And I want you to see other Black women that they've got now and that you're not alone, and that, we want to show you how to get out.
Explain the Sunday scaries to us.
Ooh, Sunday Scaries. Sunday Scaries for me was 5 o'clock on Sunday because I knew I had to go back to the job on Monday. And
Mhm.
so it was kind of ramblings of it like earlier in that day. But by 5 o'clock, it was dread, like full out dread. Like, oh, it was like a dark cloud just came over me because I couldn't think of anything else about, oh my God, and yet another Monday. I got to go right back to that job. And so I've had Black women talk to me about, as soon as they wake up on Sunday, they experience the Sunday scaries. It's that sense of dread about what Monday is going to be like, and having another, like, Groundhog Day. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm here again. Like, my life is just horrible.
Mhm.
It's horrible.
We think so. We joke a lot in our society about what work's role is in our lives. Like we joke about these things, but they're real and they're
Yeah.
harmful. We joke
Yes.
about the Sunday scaries a little bit sometimes on the internet. I hear people joking
Yes.
about it, but it's real. It's a real mental health crisis, right? It's not
Yes.
just Sunday is almost over and I gotta go back. There's a real mental health crisis happening, as in particular for Black women who are in these bad situations at work.
Yes.
That needs to be addressed and not just joked about. It's one thing to be
No.
like, oh, weekend, but we really are not supposed to live our lives for the weekend. We're not supposed to be living just to make it to the next day off. We should
Or to
enjoy
wait.
every day.
Absolutely. Or to wake up any day in dread.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, go on.
I used to be really upset when I would wake up. I'd be like, ugh, another day.
Yeah. Yeah. I could barely get out the bed. I was like, oh no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. But it's the part about us trauma bonding, I want to just really circle back to that, because as Black women, sometimes we encourage one another to stay in situations because we say, girl, what about your job? And what about your job? I went to a conference and the woman was talking about how horrible her job was, but she was going to stay because of the Black kids, but she was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and they weren't going to let her, they weren't going to run her out that job, right? And I'm sitting there listening to her like, sis, oh my God. But she's saying, but I got X amount of years to retirement. And I'm thinking, sis, I don't know if you're going to make it. I don't know if you're going to make it. And what was so disturbing was there were so many other Black women in that audience saying the same exact thing. And they started like trauma bonding with each other. Like, girl, me too. Me too. Let's not normalize it. It's dysfunction. And let's not normalize it. It's not normal. And we can still help other people, but maybe not in an environment that is continuing to harm us and shorten our life, and definitely emphasizing or questioning the quality of our lives.
We feel a lot of pride about digging in our heels in a place that is like they're trying to tell you they don't want you there.
Right.
So we feel a lot of pride, especially when it comes to work, in digging in our heels. That whole "they're not going to run me out of here" thing. That's insane.
It is. It is. But it's part of an example of how it's a coping strategy for many of us, which is a maladaptive coping strategy. So these are things that we tell ourselves to keep going. So we might say, oh, this job is not that bad. Or, you know what, this job is whatever, but I'm going to take a great vacation. Oh, you know what, this job, I can't stand it, but, I'm going to get some new pair of shoes, right? So these are lies that we're telling ourselves. And so we collude and we keep lying. And then we surround ourselves with other Black women who say, girl, I know, me too. And so then it becomes like, okay, and it's not okay. In fact, I had a Black woman, and this was so disturbing. I was talking to her, she was telling me about this terrible job. And full disclosure, she works at my former job, right?
Oh,
and
no.
she was telling me about how horrible it is. And she said, I've been here for such a long time. And she started laughing. She said, and I had a heart attack. And I said, what did you say? She said, yeah, I had a heart attack because of the job. And I went back to work the very next day. And I said, wait a minute, sis, did you just say you had a heart attack? And she said, yeah. And I said, and I didn't know her at the job, but I said, so what do you plan to do? And she said, I am not going to let these people run me out of here. I'm going to make them respect me. And those are the Black women that it makes me so sad. It makes me so sad that they believe or they don't prioritize their own health.
No. Yeah.
Do you respect yourself enough? Do you respect yourself enough to say this job is not worth my life?
Thank you for that new term, maladaptive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We have developed, Black women have developed these coping strategies, but they're not
Hmm.
to keep, they're never going to result in a good end result,
No,
right?
because you're not getting at the root of the problem. It's a Band-Aid, right? And I remember one
Right.
time you talked about, and I've heard other Black women talk about this too, about drinking alcohol,
Oh
going to
yeah.
happy hours, right?
Yes.
Happy hour be every day, right?
Every
Or
day.
drinking more wine after work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, every day. That was it, right? I thought this is how I'm going to deal with this job. Either I'm going to go and get drunk every day after work,
Mm.
or I'm gonna have to leave here. Okay, right?
Woo.
There wasn't. That was it, right? That was it.
Yeah.
Me and my coworkers, and the job encouraged it, right? Let's go
Hmm.
to happy hour. Supervisor came with
Hmm.
us.
Oh my
Let's
God.
go to, right? So that we can. That was our maladaptive coping strategy. Not
Yes.
sustainable. Not sustainable.
Mm-mm.
Not
Mm-mm.
healthy for us, not going to lead to anything that you want out of life, right?
Right.
It was only going to
Right.
lead to, at best, more of the same. At worst, it was going to
Hmm.
dig us into a hole. But that was what we did, right? From
Yeah.
Thursday through Monday night, because Monday night was football, right? Every Thursday night, Friday night. Sometimes we'd get together on Saturdays, and then again on Monday night.
Wow.
We would leave our jobs and go get hammered drunk because of the job that we did, right?
Wow.
Oh, so now
Wow.
I'm laughing, but it was not
That's
good. It wasn't good.
it's a Band-Aid. It was a Band-Aid, right? So you're trying to find things in the moment, short term, right? These are short-term things you're doing,
Yeah,
but long term, it doesn't get to the root of the problem. Because Black women will reach out to me and
absolutely.
say,
Absolutely.
"How can you help me cope in this job environment?" I was like, "Sis, I don't think I'm the right person to ask you that because I'm going to tell you that whatever we talk about is going to be short term. It's going to be a Band-Aid, short term, but it's not looking at the root. That's your job. The problem is your job."
That's right. That's right. That's right. The idea of coping is assuming that there's nothing better, right? That
Mm-hmm.
there's no better
Mm-hmm.
solution. And so
Mm-hmm.
let's just cope with this. And that's so
Mm-hmm.
pessimistic and so
It
sad. We're too young for
is.
that. We're too young to go down like that.
Yes. And I think about it too, Stephanie. I just think about like our ancestors, like they went through so much for us to be here right now. And the thought that, we are living a life of misery or dreading any day of our lives when they fought and they died and they sacrificed for us to be here. Like, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to give honor to my ancestors and I'm not going to have a beat down by these people on this plantation. Mm-mm.
That's right.
I'm signing my
That's
own
right.
freedom papers and I'm out.
Yes. What do your freedom papers look like? What did that look like for you?
It looked like, well, first I want to say I took a leave of absence. And so I want to tell Black women, if you're watching this right now and you're in a toxic job, if you're able to take a leave of absence, please do that. Please do it because you're able to get some relief from the beat down and you're able to kind of just rest a little bit, right? You can't fully rest a little bit, but you're able to get a greater clarity about what's happening and what you want for your life. And if you're like me, I started exit planning during that leave of absence because I knew I wasn't going back. Okay. So for me, even when I was on that leave, I was not waking up anymore in dread.
Okay.
Didn't have that. And then once I resigned, well, let me say this, moving up to that step of coming closer to resigning, I was less fearful because I got supports. I was in therapy, had Black business coaches, was working with Dr. Roche Brown, a financial psychologist who is also one of the speakers of the summit and previous masterclass. But I felt a little, but I was still had that inkling of fear, right? I still had the inkling of fear because I felt that I couldn't fully leave, right? So I still felt that sense of kind of anger with myself and disappointment with myself that I couldn't just leave. But finally got to a point where I was able to leave, right? So now my life, I never, ever, ever wake up any day in dread. And in fact, during the pandemic, we got a dog, Scooby, right? But then closer to when I was resigning, we got her sister and I named her Joy because I want to wake up to Joy every day. And that's exactly how I wake up. So Joy is fire. She runs through the house, but that's a reminder of how my life is very different now that I wake up now not in dread, but in joy. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm able to structure the life that I want for myself. So I structure what times I want to work. I generally don't work on Fridays, generally, but that's up to me. And I take jobs, I take clients that I want to work with, not things that I like. If it's something that doesn't align with what I want to do or the pay is not good, be like, sorry, I can't do it. I'll refer you to, right? But I'm able to do all these different things that I want to do. And being able to talk about and speak my truth on YouTube has been like liberating. And I just appreciate you, Stephanie, because you were the one who said, go do it when I was in your YouTube Success Society or YouTube Challenge. So you were the one who said, girl, do that, talk about it. And so it has been so therapeutic for me to be able to talk about my story and to hear so many Black women around the world. That lights me up. And I'm somebody who's very private. Like, I don't, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But now I'm just like, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I'm so glad you do. Sometimes we just need to see a thing being done to know that we can do that thing, right? We need to see more Black women turning their backs on these toxic situations, right?
Yes.
Walking in the complete opposite direction. We need to see that over and over and over again, because we're getting enough of that message of, well, that's just how it is. You just have to stick it out, right? Just hang in there. Hang in there is one of my nemesis. I can't stand hanging in there. We're not
hang in there.
Our life should not be about just hanging in there.
No.
We should be living well. We should enjoy every day of our lives.
Exactly.
So it's so wonderful to see that through you, to see Black women who are doing it this way, who are saying, I'm leaving, I'm healing, and then I'm doing something totally different.
Yes. And that the healing is an ongoing process, and that you can see Black women, because Black women will say this to me, what, you want me to just leave this job and end up homeless? I'm like, wait a minute. How do we go from leave the job to homeless? Like, are there steps in between? Like, do you not think you can get another job? So I want Black women to know that your worst fears are not really, they're fear-based. They're fear-based. So you know that you got this job. What makes you think you can't get another job or other things to make money? It might even be a bridge job. So a job you get in the meanwhile to get to that other job you want. But that homeless part, like jumping to the worst case scenario, that's your fear talking. That's not reality based. And I want them to see all these Black women on my channel. Not one of them has ever been homeless.
No, that's you bullying yourself, right? You're bullying yourself, right? If you think that leaving a job is that big of a mistake in your life, like, you're bullying your own self. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. There's a few steps between I've quit my job and I am destitute on the streets, right? I got a line for soup kitchen after soup kitchen, and there's nothing, right? There's no roof over my head. There are many, many steps in between there.
Many. Yes. So true. So true.
So we're talking about recognizing that this isn't a normal situation. These work situations are not normal, even though they might be normal inside of your friend group. This is not the way work is supposed to be, right?
True.
And we're talking about making our decisions to move ourselves to something better, right? To heal, which you said is a process, to heal from what we've experienced and to live a new and better way. Do you think there's anything that we haven't touched on? I think that you're talking about us being trauma bonded and us forming these maladaptive coping strategies. I think those are really going to open some women's eyes, right? And help women see, oh yeah, you know what? This is not a good situation. You're right. Every time we get together, what we do is we talk about work and we drink to forget work.
Yes. Oh, I thought of something else. Too, is that it's very important for us to really check our circle, because our circle can really influence us in many ways. So if you're around people and you tell them, I hate my job, I dread this job, and they're telling you, girl, just stay, it's a good job, you're not going to be able to leave. If you leave, you're going to end up homeless. You need to really have some boundaries in that situation, and don't keep telling those people your business. They could be
Okay.
your family. They could be your friends, right? They ask about the job, just say, yeah, I'm working on it. You don't have to tell them your business, okay? Think about who are the people around you who can support you and say, okay, sis, what kind of things are you doing to help you? Do you have an accountability group who can help support you, but not tell you to stay somewhere where you're continuing to be harmed? That is very important in terms of your circle. The other thing is, when you have this circle, make sure that you also reach out to people who are maybe going in the direction that you want to go. Maybe they're 2 steps ahead of where you are, and reach out to those people. You may not know them personally, but you may see them on Instagram or LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been wonderful. I've reached out to so many Black women over LinkedIn, and I have so many new connections due to LinkedIn. So that might be a possibility. The last thing I want to say is be very mindful of what information you tell to your coworkers. Be
Okay.
very mindful, because that came back and got me in some negative ways. So be very mindful. So I don't want to tell Black women you can't trust any of your coworkers. I just want to say use discretion. Use
Okay.
discretion, because you can say things, and some people who you thought you can trust will betray you, or they will throw you under the bus, or they might do other things. So use discretion. Some of my really good friends I've met at that previous toxic job, but there were some other people that I thought were cool, and they turned out not to have my best interests at heart. So use discretion about who you tell in the workplace. If you are planning to leave, I would say be like Harriet and move in silence. Don't tell people about your exit plan at the job, because again, you never know what could happen.
That's good advice. That's good. Sometimes we we forget who's on whose side, right? Some people are
Yes,
only on their side. Some people are only on
yes,
their own side. They're never going to be on.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And when you take that leave of absence, if you take a leave of absence,
Mhm.
be careful too, because they're going to have some spies who
Okay.
contact you. I had some spies who contacted me who I thought were cool with me, but I knew, right? When they started asking me questions like, "Oh, how you doing? What are you going to do now?" I was like, peeped, not gonna, nope, nope, nope. So there might be some spies from your job who reach out to you if you take a leave of absence too.
That can seem discouraging because these are people who you might like really want to discuss this with. Maybe you
Yeah,
value their opinion or their approach to things, and you might really want to discuss this with them. That's why you get in community with people who you can have this conversation with.
true,
Get
true,
in
true.
coaching, go to these events or summits that have people in that space,
Hmm.
because you do want to run some things by some people,
Yeah,
um, but you have to choose the right people. Now, with the circle, it's not necessarily the circle is not only don't tell people in your circle this, don't talk to them about this anymore because they're going to convince you to stay. But it's also like, or because they're going to convince you to stay because they want something negative for you. Sometimes it's just that they don't know what other options are out there. They don't
they
know what you,
don't. They don't. They
yeah.
don't. They really cannot conceive of something different for you. They really can't. Maybe how they were brought up, or maybe their life experiences. So they're saying this a lot of times out of concern and for, because they want the best for you. So I'm not saying it in a malicious way, but you still have to be mindful, because that mindset can keep you. So they are projecting their fears onto you. And then you're already fearful, and they're projecting their fears onto you. And then you're like, I'm just going to stay.
Hmm. Yeah, I want to listen. I want to say my favorite thing to say over and over again. There is no such thing as a good job, right? All jobs are means to an end, right? They're a means to an end. And once that job is no longer giving you that end, right? No longer, maybe because you don't want that end anymore, right? Or because it's just not the negative drawbacks are outweighing the positives, right? Once
Yes.
that job no longer fits your needs, it's not a good job.
No.
No matter what other people from the outside might see, it's not a good job.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's something that is more fitting to your needs, right? That is going to
Hmm.
move you in the direction that you need. But
Hmm.
you can't find that thing once you're stuck in a job that is a quote unquote good job.
Yeah. And I just ask Black women to just really evaluate first, what what is the criteria that you're saying is a good job?
Yeah.
And what is the cost? What is the cost of you being at that job? So are you getting sick? Are you not spending time with family or friends because of the job? Are you dreaming about the job all the time? So what is the cost? You need to weigh the costs and the benefits if this is really a so-called good job.
That's right. That's right. You put it on paper.
Yes.
You're gonna see what is the cost is a really wonderful question to ask yourself about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really easy to be like, but it pays me X number of dollars, right? It gives me X title, but we often don't count the cost.
No.
Yeah,
And
true.
the cost can be very significant. And I would say too, for Black women who you feel like you're stuck and trying to figure out what the costs are, or you recognize on some level you're lying to yourself, therapy might be very important for you to invest in, because the therapy can help you recognize what are some childhood wounds that you have that is making you settle and make you believe that this is a good job. There's some unresolved stuff going on that you can't even fully identify what the costs are, but therapy will allow you to do that, because a good therapist will point out like, hey, I'm wondering about this. Let's talk about this. I noticed you said this. Let's dig deeper into that.
Yes, yes. So if we're recognizing ourselves in this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and we think that we're ready to take some sort of action, how do we know if your workshops are for us? How do we know if how to heal and how to prepare to leave a toxic job workshop? How do we know if we're ready for that?
Well, I would say any Black woman is ready, okay? Because when I think about a toxic job, and I've heard Anne Marie Archer say this, the anti-HR lady, you always need to be planning for plan A, B, C, and D, okay? Even if you look like your job, you always need to be thinking about that. So it's really available to any Black woman, okay? Again, these are for Black women. And it's for Black women too who say, you know what? I'm not happy with my life. You know what? When I think about my life and I'm able to evaluate what is not going right, it's that job, then you are a good candidate for the master classes, because again, it talks about resources. And the other thing is, a good candidate for the master classes are Black women who say, you know what? I recognize that, but I don't know how. I don't even know how. I don't even know the first step. The master classes are for you, because it lays out everything for you. You talk about a shortcut. It gives you a shortcut about these are the things that you can do to actually help you get out and do well once you leave. So again, it's for Black women who are like, this, yeah, I'm not happy. I'm not happy and I want more. I want more for my life. I know I deserve better than this.
Good. All right. Thank you kindly. So again, friends, I will link to the this soon come masterclass, How to Heal from a Toxic Job. But that link is vicarious.com/healing. Vicarious.com/healing. I'll link in the description, but we'll also include the link to the How to Prepare to Leave masterclass. So you can watch those replays, and we'll link to the full summit. But go ahead and go to the How to Heal workshop so that you can get yourself prepared, so that you can get yourself started.
Yes.
You will be surprised how things can move in your favor when you take some action.
True.
Right? When you get yourself in a position to receive better, you'll be surprised how much better there is for you.
True.
I know that. If
Yes.
I don't know anything, I know
know
that.
it too.
Taking some action really is, there's no prep work you can do in your mind, and there's no that will compare to taking some steps, to taking some action. So go ahead and sign up for the workshop. You know, I have an agenda. I want you to leave that job. Okay. But because I personally am I can't put everybody on my payroll. Let's talk about some ways to prepare yourself so that you can actually do it and still live, right? And not
And
have
do
your work.
well and live well. Live well. Yes.
Yes. All right. I'm so glad that you've done this. So sometimes we find we get to our own liberation. Hold on, Kimani. I didn't ask you how much time you have. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good
Yeah.
girl. We well over an hour.
No, no, it's good.
Okay. Okay. So sometimes when we find our own liberation, we undervalue it, I think. And so we don't share it enough. So I'm so glad that you share. You see the value in this new term, this new life
Yeah.
that you're living,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you share it over and over again with Black women. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It is valuable. It is worth it. There's no amount of money that we can put on our well-being, our
True.
satisfaction, our life, right?
True.
So
True.
I'm so glad to see you moving in this new direction, having moved in this new direction, sharing
Yes.
it with other Black women instead of just being like, okay, well, it helped me, but I don't know if it would
No.
help anybody else,
No,
right?
it fills me with joy because when I think about all the Black women who've reached out to me, who've helped me over the years, I feel like I'm paying it forward. So I'm healing. I've learned some things. I want to share with as many Black women as I can because I
Yes.
want you to know, girl, there's another way. Like I was there, like wherever you are right now, I probably was there a few years ago. I probably was there and I was desperate, didn't know what to do. But now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, girl, come on, come on, come on. But it's like Harriet Tubman, right? So Harriet was trying to lead the way and she was trying to reach for people, but some people are not going to want to go because they are
Yeah.
so scared, right? So if you want to come along, right? The conductor, I'm leading the way. If you want to come along, come with me because I have resources for you that will honestly help you. I'm not lying to you. I'm living a good life. I'm living a good life. Stephanie's living a good life. So we want to
Absolutely.
show you these different opportunities for you, but you have to think about, are you coming into this with a closed hand? Like, oh, I don't know. Are you coming open like, okay, let's see what you have. Let's see what you have to help me. Open hand.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a true story or not, okay, because I read a fictionalized biography of Harriet Tubman. But what I read was that when she came back for the first time she came back, it was for her husband. And her
Right.
husband was like, well, I got this new wife now. I can't go. And she was like, well, who else want to come then? Right? Like, stay here.
Yes,
Anybody else
yes,
want to come?
yes,
Right? Won't be
yes,
him.
yes,
Be the other
yes.
people.
Girl, save yourself. Save yourself because guess what? On the plantation, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. The longer you stay, the worse it's going to be in terms of the conditions and the more harm you're going to be experiencing. So
Yes.
think about that.
You can still be a helpful, contributing person in the world outside of that job.
True,
Okay. We know that. We
true,
know that for
true,
sure.
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Kimani. So, friends, of course, I've linked to everything in the description of the video. Go ahead and sign up for the workshop. I want you to, right? Because I want you to heal. Kimani said a lot of times when women leave the toxic job, they go on to a higher role. Don't nobody want you being their whatever, their director, and you not healed yet. Okay. We don't
Girl,
want.
no.
Imagine, right? Now you're the toxic boss. Nobody
Oh,
wants.
God. Yes. No, no.
So go ahead and sign up for the workshop. And I'll link to Dr. Kimani's YouTube channel, which is Lifting as We Climb, Consulting Wellness Services. She talks to a lot of toxic job survivors, a lot of women who are liberators, right? So this is going to be another place where you're going to see other women doing it. So you're not going to
Mhm.
feel alone. You're not going to feel alone.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right. So now how did we do?
Fabulous. I think we covered all bases.
I think we got somebody out today. Somebody. We threw a lifeline out. Okay. I think
Yes,
we threw out a
yes.
lifeline and
Sis,
somebody
take it, take it, take it. Take the lifeline.
grab it, please, please. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kimani. I appreciate you always. Until next time.
Thank you,
I'll see you soon.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.